Well, hi, everybody. This is DearMamaSal, and we are live on a Sunday afternoon, which means it's time for us to be talking about coping with stress, in case any of you have got any. And a very warm welcome to you all, and those of you who are new. Please know that DearMamaSal is a group of people who get together 3 times a week, and we hold each other's hands while we cope with life. And we do one broadcast at lunchtime on Friday, that's Pacific time, where we talk about coping with feelings. We do another one on a Friday evening at 7 o'clock Pacific, where we talk about coping with life. And then, of course, this one on a Sunday afternoon, where we talk about coping with stress. And I assure you that we are all dealing with a lot of stress in our lives, and we talk about it. Why? Because talking about it somehow or other makes it easier, and we give each other ideas on how we can cope better. And it is wonderful. So a quick hello here to Jeannie, I see, to Chris. Good to see you as well. And Jody, of course, and Isa, and anybody else that's watching in the background there. A very warm welcome to you all. Yes, it's interesting. Jeannie's saying, it's beautiful weather this weekend in Maine. It's beautiful weather here in southern British Columbia as well. And in fact, you can tell that just by the way I'm dressed. And it's been a beautiful weekend. And I believe it's going to be a whole week of it. So I'm really looking forward to that. And I hope that we have got some fun stuff for you in the broadcast. We've sort of got a mismatch of stuff going on. But I have, and just to make sure I remind you, I had a mini score at the local, there was one of the people in my community was having a garage sale. She's leaving the community, unfortunately. You know, I wanted to support her, so I went and bought some things from her. But I wanted to show you something that I thought was doable. And, you know, anyway, I'll show you when we get to that part. So first of all, DearMamaSal is a group of people, not just me, as I said. We do 3 broadcasts a week, so you'll always know where to come. And, you know, to me, that's really important that we keep that consistency so that you know that if you're not available on Friday lunchtime, that we'll be back here again Friday evening at 7 o'clock. And you'll know that we're here again on a Sunday if ever you need any help. And if anybody needs any help in between those times, please feel free to contact me at dearmamasal@gmail.com, dearmamasal@gmail.com, and I will do my best to get to you as soon as I can and give you what help I can. I want to start by talking about decluttering. I saw what I thought was a really smart idea about decluttering this week. And what it said is that how many of you keep a donation box somewhere that you go, okay, fine, you know, whenever I find anything, I'm going to just put it in the box. What it suggests, and I thought this was a really clever idea, which is try and train yourself to put one thing in there every day. That would mean that you're getting rid of 365 items from your home every year. And if you don't think that you can have the discipline to do it that way, maybe make a thing on your to-do list, put 7 things away a week, and you will still achieve the same thing, obviously. But it's just like, I think that's a clever idea to make that part of your life. You know, maybe you pick a day. If it's Mondays, then it's, you know, the day I put 7 things into the box. And it can be any 7 things, right? Don't say, oh, it's not good enough, whatever. Just go, my job is to get 7 things into there. And that is it. Well, how many of you think that's a pretty doable idea? You know, I'm always looking for things that will make our lives easier. And I'm actually found that having to unpack my life twice in a year, I'm getting a lot better about throwing stuff away or donating it than I used to be. And that is my new thing, which is either throw it away or donate it. It doesn't matter which you do, but just get rid of it, you know. You know, it really, you haven't used it in the last year. So unless it's a craft things I don't throw away easily, I must admit. And I thought this was a nice little quote that I saw, and it said, We're in an era of overachievers where nothing is ever enough. Maria Chida said it. How about that? We're in an era of overachievers where nothing is ever enough. How many of you feel that our expectations of ourselves are far greater than they have ever been before? How many of you feel that way? And if you're watching this in the replay, feel free to leave comments about it. But, it's like, why do we do this to ourselves? Why don't we instead go, I'm going to live a happier life this year and just not do this to myself anymore? All right? And just to lower the temperature on that. So, all right. So, Chris, I see your comment. You might want to refresh if you haven't done it already. It doesn't look like anybody else is having the problem. Yeah, Jody's saying my expectations versus my reality are sometimes very different. Yes. And that is why, you remember I was talking to you on Friday, Jody, about have what I call the mini list. I have 3 different ways of having a to-do list. I've got the dirty great to-do list, which I keep in Asana, which is all-encompassing. But I know there is no way I can get to those things. I then have what I call, this is what I'd like to do this week list. And then I have this very short, little, this is what I want to do today list. And I'm really only allowed to put one thing in each category. And I do it that way so that if I only did one thing for Dear Mama Sal today, what do I want it to be? And if I only did one thing for the house today, what do I want it to be? Or one thing for my health, or one thing for my garden, or one thing for, whatever, my finances. If I only did one thing, what is it I want to do today? Now, sometimes I don't even get through that list, but at least I know I'm keeping balance. Yeah, and Jody's making a very good definition there. Is it tiers of to do, so many layers of it, or is it tiers of to do? I think that's very clever. Yeah, I know that I've got a mind that works like a steam train, I think. It's always coming up with things. And so to me, to lose them is such a waste in my view. So I try and make a note. And sometimes I don't get to those things for another year. And I've got an example of that coming up. So interesting point there. All right, just in terms of birthdays and special days, as far as I know, it is Emma's birthday today. And Emma is in Ireland, and I'm pretty sure she's not watching us today, but I just wanted to wish her a very happy birthday if she gets to see this broadcast. And we hope that you had a beautiful day for your birthday. I also want to give, for those of you who know Erin, I want to give thoughts and prayers out for Erin. She's had a really tough week. And so for those of you who can spare it, and Jody, please, can you remind me again to put up some thoughts and prayers after the broadcast so that I can get it to the rest of the viewers who might not be here today. That would be awesome. It's actually... All right, Kimmy, it's Max's dad, Chris. His name is Chris, not Max. Now, I had an interesting thing happen this week. As some of you know, I have I'm a pre-diabetic, and I started to lose feeling in my feet, particularly in my toes, my big toes, and that's all part of what they call the neuropathy of having diabetes or being diabetic. And, it was interesting. What I found was with all the walking that I'm doing, and I'll talk more about that as well, but with all the walking that I'm doing, I'm starting to get feeling back in my big toes. And that sort of shocked me a little bit. I didn't, it was like, it almost felt stressful because I'm going, wait a minute, what's wrong with my toes? They hurt. And I'm going, I can feel my toes. And I think it's something to do with the way that I'm walking, that I'm doing, that I'm actually rolling onto my toes now instead of being pretty flat footed. I think I'm actually getting that motion going. Does that make sense? I hope so. All right. So for those of you who would like an update on what Jodi's up to, it is important to know interesting. Sorry, I just went noticing Jeannie saying that she bought oysters this week. Yeah. And she last week I bought one oyster at a restaurant for $3, and today I bought 5 at the grocery store for $5.39. Yeah, that's wonderful. Well done. And has anybody not ever had oysters? I think that's the interesting question. It's one of those things you've either tried or you haven't. And some people will have tried them and gone, I don't know what all the fuss is about. I obviously can't have them anymore because nearly always they're smothered in garlic and I can't handle garlic anymore. So now then, let me carry on. I wanted to update you on what's happening to Jodi. As some of you know, Jodi is prepping now to have a stomach reduction surgery done. It'll either be the sleeve one that goes over the stomach to reduce the size of the stomach, or she will have a gastric bypass, which bypasses the stomach. Like it gives you a new little stomach. And whichever way it is, they're in the process of actually, reducing what she eats. And, I think about a week ago, I was showing that she was down to a cup for a meal, literally 1 cup of food per meal. And now she's down to even less than that. But she was saying today that I know that my coffee days are winding down, at least for the foreseeable future. I treated myself, I think this is nice. I treated myself to, hang on a second, Dunkin's cold foam cold brew with almond milk today. It was heavenly. And starting tomorrow, I'm having coffee every other day and then every third day, etc. And that way, I'll avoid the withdrawal headaches. And that is exactly what we talk about, Jodi, which is do one step at a time. Don't go from 0 to 60. Go, okay, how can I do this in stages so my body doesn't overreact to it? And that is, a really good way to do anything. If you remember, I started this whole walking thing by getting a WII, and starting to walk when I was in lockdown because I knew I needed to do something. And look where that's led. And we will update you on that. I thought this was nice. If life doesn't live up fully to your expectations, you need to change your point of view or change your expectations. Think about that. If life doesn't live up fully to your expectations, you need to change your point of view or change your expectations. Stephen Redhead said that in Life is a Dance. And it's about, why would you constantly set expectations that you cannot achieve and that you've proven that you cannot achieve? On the other hand, I am pretty certain if we had said to Jodi 2 years ago, Jodi, within the next 2 years, you are going to go from the amount that you're eating today down to eating less than less than a cup per meal. In fact, even half a cup per meal now. And she would have just laughed at us, I'm sure. Yeah, yeah, really. You think that. And so what I'm saying is, have the goals, but your expectation needs to be in its own time. That's what I find works really well, which is why I keep all these ideas that I have. I don't expect myself to do it sort of in the this week or even this month. I just want to make sure that I've got it down, that that's something I would like to do. Jeannie, you're asking if I'm okay. May I ask why you're asking that? I'm pretty sure you've got a good reason for asking the question. So let me know. I just not sure if you're not hearing me or some things like that. If you've got plantar fasciitis, Kimmy, we've got lots of help for you because I've been through it and all sorts of helps. But one of the best things you can do is take a rolling pin and just roll your feet across a rolling pin. That will really help with your plantar fasciitis. I was taught that early on. And, the good news is, Kim, if you do the right things, it goes away. If you remember, I did that damage to my plantar tendon when I did the move here originally. And it took, about 6 months for me to get rid of it, but I got rid of it. And I did it by doing a lot of the good things. The other thing is to take some ice, I found worked really well for me, in a tea towel and just rubbed it against my plantar, where it's so sore. And that will obviously help reduce the pain. I was in a terrible state for quite a while, if you remember. Now, one of the things I did when I was walking yesterday was I came across a garage sale. As I said, that one of my neighbors was doing it. And what amazed me was that she had a lot of storage type drawers. And I wanted to see if I got a picture of them for you, that she was getting rid of. Yeah, here are some of them. These sort of plastic, these sort of plastic ones. You know the type that I mean. And I was pretty certain that the reason nobody had bought them is because they'd written all over them with Sharpies. Can you see that? They've all got serious black pen all over them. And, it's me. So I'm going, those drawers are just what I need for my studio. And if worst came to the worst and I couldn't get the writing off, would it matter? No, I'd make plan B. I'd just paint over it. And I'm just leaning down because I want to get, what I did is I bought one of the smaller ones here to show you. Right, so here we are with all this over it. And what I did was I took some paper towel and some rubbing alcohol. All right, just so you know this, and I'm doing it in real time, people. So there's a rubbing alcohol on that. And all I did is literally just work it in there a little bit and give it a chance to sort of do its thing. Oh, you could get quite a buzz smelling this stuff. Okay, let's see if I can get. Now, some of these are easier to get off than others. So, as you can see, this one is going to take a little bit more effort. This one is nearly done, just with, fairly easy to get that one off. But I don't want to spend the whole time getting it off, but I want you to see that it is doable. The top one is gone, the second one's nearly gone, the third one's going to take a little, probably 2 or 3 times I'll need to do it to lift the stuff off. But interesting, right, that it comes off. So The big tower that you saw. Do I have a magic eraser? Yes, I will try that. Thanks, Beth. That's a good idea as well. But I don't have one handy right now to try, but I will try it and let you know how it worked. Thank you for that. Jody, could you make a note for me to give some feedback on that after I've tried it? So we should know that Beth would have the answer for it. Beth, I wanted to tell you that when I was unpacking, I found my chamois leather. They call it that in the States, right? And boy, I want to say that that's so nice when my shower has dried and it's nearly perfect, but there are a couple of bits in it. I just take that chamois, make it a little bit damp, and then I just go, thank you, that's it, perfect now. It's I forgot. Isn't it funny that sometimes it is the old school ways that still work better than all the smart stuff? Now, I was doing some interesting I was doing some interesting research into people who are over 100. How many of you think you might live to 100? Because what I wanted to show you is that your chances of living to 100 are increasing every year. And no, and Beth's going, no, I definitely won't. So that's okay, Beth. For those of us who've got pre-existing conditions and all sorts of things, probably not so much. But Jody's planning on it, right? And so, you look at it and you go, this will be interesting to see. In my mother's day, very few people got there. But now, I did a bit of research, which I thought you might be interested in. According to the demographers in the U.S. Census Board, the U.S. number grew from 53,000 in 2010, already up to 90,000 in 2020. Isn't that interesting? That's in 10 years. The number of people who were over 100 jumped from 53,000 up to 90,000. So your chances are getting better. Here in Canada, we've only got about 10,000. Mind you, we've got far less people in the country. But what I thought was interesting was 80% of them are women. And that is another thing to look at, the difference between the number of men who live over 100 and women. The UK also has an aging population, of course, and there are over 12 million people aged 65 and above. They have over 5.4 million people over 75. Excuse me, they have 1.6 million aged over 85, and 500,000 are 90 plus, but only 14,430 were over 100. So again, interesting stuff. Now, how about, yes, and I agree with you, Beth, and I'll talk to that in a second. Now, the other thing is in Japan, for example, there are over 80,000 already over 100. And as Beth so correctly says, I need more retirement money to live that long. It's one of the reasons that I wanted to discuss it. Are you prepared for that? And if you are not yet prepared, you may want to start thinking, what if? What if I am fitting well enough to live 10 years longer than I thought I was going to? And for those of us who are already on pensions, that's a bit of a challenge, right? Because the price of things are going to continue to go up, but our pensions will never keep up to that. So, it is difficult. Junie is mentioning that, while she's in the hotel waiting to go back to her house, she's saying that living in a hotel, really, I miss not cooking. I brought fruits, and I want to tell you, I so relate to that. And you've got a hot plate and not much space. I'm pretty certain, because of the fact they messed up your departure date from your apartment, you probably could go out to eat every night and they would be forced to pay for it. Or call for takeout, because you should still be in an apartment and they messed up. So I would not be too much of a victim to this, Jeannie. I would double check with them and say, how many times are we allowed to eat? Because trying to cook on one plate is almost impossible. What are we allowed to do that will be covered? Because, otherwise you're a victim to their error. And I really don't recommend that. You're saying, but the hotel personnel are very nice and kind to us. I understand. So were the hotel people where I was. That's not the point. The point is they messed up. And because they messed up, you are not in your apartment with a full kitchen. That is the issue. And therefore, my attitude is, please, they need to be, you should be able to at least get takeout a couple of times a week and probably go out to eat at least a couple of times a week. Oh gosh, Beth, you really are an accident-prone person, aren't you? Beth is saying, my stock guy, she works in a Dollar General. She said, my stock guy, Tim, dropped a whole case of hot sauce. Oh. Talk about stress, right? And of course, I was right next to him, and it all landed on me. My shoes and my socks. Yeah. And that, all right, so now, Beth, not a drop on him, right? Of course, that is typical. So now, Beth, the question is, should it ever happen to us? How did you get hot sauce out of your clothes? I'm sure you miss cooking, Jeannie. I'm certain you miss cooking. And that is why, luckily, we're only hopefully a couple of weeks away from you being able to cook again. But even so, I also think that it's very inconvenient and stressful for you not to be able to have any sort of a, kitchen facility. Oh, it only happened today, Beth. Okay, you're just off work now and you're going to wash them. I would think my senses probably soaking them for quite a while before you bother to wash them. I would, I was trying to think, what would I do? I don't know why, but my mind is saying I'd probably soak them in ammonia. Water with ammonia in it for maybe overnight before I even attempted to wash it. So very, very nasty. I'm pretty certain, knowing Jody the way that I am, she's probably already Googling it to see if she can help you in any way. So let's see. I thought I'd let you know I got an update from Manon. She did not break her foot. That's the good news. She sprained it. And so she's still in pain, but she's icing it, and she's just got to rest it for quite a while, until it quietens down. And now, Jody's coming up for a very practical idea, which is, Beth, maybe consider having a change of clothes at work. How many of you did that? I always had a change of shoes at work. Not fancy ones. I would have, in case something happened to my shoes, I always had a pair of shoes that I could put on if that happened. I always kept a pair at work. Beth is saying customers were asking me, Well, what's that smell? And she said, I just said, it's me. I'm hot and spicy today. Jeannie, any updates in terms of your kidney stones? Ah, there we go. All right. Thank you, Jody. All right, Beth. So blot with vinegar or wash with oxygen bleach, like an OxyClean or something. Yeah, I still think I would soak as much as I could off that before I ever got it. I definitely wouldn't get it near heat. I would wash it and then not put it in the dryer. Um, and to see how clean it came, and then I would probably put a paste of baking soda on it to pull some of it out, and let it dry in the sun, and let the baking soda pull some out, and but do not put it in a dryer. I don't think. Now, why was the sun okay, but not the dryer? Because the sun will help bleach it, as opposed to a dryer that will set the stain. All right. Soak in oxy. Okay, good. So that's, I'm pretty certain that I would think your expectation to get it all out in one go should be lowered. I think it may take a couple of goes. It's a bit like these drawers, right? If I expect it all to come off immediately, it won't happen. How much of the air? How much area do is stained, Beth? Is it just a couple of spots, or do you have sort of large mass of it on your new pink outfit? I like that comment. So, have anybody else got any updates that we can share with people? If so, please type away so that we can let people know. Oh, Beth is saying it went all over and over her hair as well. Oh, that's interesting. Does hot sauce, does it stain your hair? That's an interesting one. Because if it does, what color? I know you've got blonde hair. So what happens when hot sauce gets on blonde hair? Do you end up with an auburn, or what color does it turn to? Oh, I'd love to see this picture. Gosh, poor Beth. Your hair was red in spots. Okay, so it actually did turn it red, not just auburn. It was like red, like this red. Wow, it's amazing. And poor Beth. Now that'll be something. How are you going to get it out of your hair? Yeah, I'd definitely be washing my hair every day. It's going to be a matter of time. It's going to take time to get it out of your hair as well. But I would think if you wash your hair every day, it would just keep getting less and less. I hope so. Right, and it went from red to pink after you had a shower. Yeah, I would, even up your showers to twice a day if necessary. Just because the more that you wash your hair, the more it's going to dull the color, and some of it will probably stay for quite a while. And that would be my expectation. I always remember. You remember that one December where they dyed my hair cotton candy? I had half my hair pink and the other half sort of blue. And I thought I was going to be living with that for a long time. I really did. And I was prepared for that. And the funny thing was that I stood in the shower that night rather than get the colors all over the hotel pillows. And I was quite amazed. Almost all the color came out immediately. And I was going, oh, okay. I was quite surprised. I want to give a reminder to everybody to be prepared, not scared. We are definitely going to be seeing an increase in prices across the board. and I mentioned it before, and I'm going to keep mentioning it. Expect the price of chicken to go up, chlorine to go up, computer chips for cars, in fact, computer chips for anything, washing machines, smartphones, stuff like that are all going to go up in price. Gas will be in short supply. We know about that. And that would have been in short supply had we not had the hack of the Eastern Seaboard, which we did. And one of the problems that we've got happening is that the jobs are opening up, but an awful lot of people have found that being on benefits pays them not to work. All right, that the benefits they got were better than the income they were earning before. So some people are not going to be in a hurry to go back to work, which is why you will see them, and you should be prepared for this, stop that subsidy to stop people from doing that. All right. Wow. Beth is saying that prices are going up every Tuesday at her job. And do they give you a reason why? Is it because of transportation costs? Yes, and Beth is saying that as well. Where she is, we are short-handed because no one wants to work. People have got out of the habit of working. They have had a year of not working, and they sort of like it. I think getting a lot of people back to work is going to be a struggle. Yes, Beth, it is transportation that's pushing the price of things up. All right, and as the whole of that hacking of the Eastern Seaboard pipeline, as that affects the supply, that will push prices up. Then you've got more gas being diverted to the Eastern Seaboard to make up for that shortage that there is there, which will make a shortage everywhere else. All right, interesting. Chris is saying, you used to make a pretty good salary, and now, Chris, are you still employed? All right, and Beth is saying, I had to send 3 of my people to help out the stores because the store manager there is having a meltdown because of no employees. Right. And this is going to make it all the more important to be good to your employees, because getting them replaced is going to be more and more difficult. And therefore, bad managers are going to have problem keeping staff, whereas good ones, you've got better chance. Beth. Yeah, and Jeannie is saying teachers are getting paid but not working in classrooms. Kids are suffering. I think there's going to have to be some sort of compromise, I guess, about when. I think what they're all aiming for, Jeannie, if I'm correct on this, I think everybody's trying to make sure that all the things get in place so that come September, children will be able to safely go back to school. That's my sense of it from everything that I'm hearing. I could be wrong, but because they know that children have already paid the price, and everybody has paid the price. All right. All right. So Kim is saying my grandsons won't go back to school. Why not, Kim? Just let me know if there's a reason for that. Now, Jeannie thinks it's political. The reasons gas and food are up is due to bad management on the behalf of President Biden. Interesting. And Beth is saying where she lives, masks will be going away on June 11th. I understand that it's a good idea not to throw all your masks away, because in most cases you won't need to wear a mask, but in some cases you still will. If you go into a private company, they have the right to ask you still to wear a mask. So think about that. Don't throw your masks away if you've got spares. You could end up, and also you don't know that there's not going to be another wave coming through. Americans need to pay people a living wage. Yes, I agree. And Bernie Sanders has been after that for a long time, I know. And everybody sort of rolled their eyes at him. But that's, I mean, if there's one thing that he was consistent on his whole political career, yeah, it was, you got to raise that minimum wage. But you know what happens, Chris, is that companies say, well, if I put up the minimum wage, then I got to get rid of some people because I can't afford to pay that to everybody. So I'm going to have to lose some people. And that is part of the downside of it. But, every time that the minimum wage has gone up, there has been some case of people losing their jobs, but the majority of people do better. So expect the shortages to continue. Expect that things will get worse. And, I've been saying to you for months, things are going to get way worse before they get better. And it's, with all due respect, it's not about the political side of it. It is about the fact that the pandemic has had such a serious effect on so much. And so you look at it and go, we need to prepare that the cost of everything is going to go up. And those people who are living, as Beth said, on a minimum wage of $9.50 an hour, how are they going to survive? Well, I'd like to suggest that, can any of you remember, earning not enough to be able to live in your own place, so you shared? And I would like to say that an awful lot of people are going to have to share again. And maybe two families share a place together, just to be able to get through this, because I think we're in for a long haul here. And there's not going to be, I don't care who's the president, it's not going to be a short recovery. This probably will take more than my lifetime to recover from. That's how bad it is. And please be prepared for things to get way, way worse. And it won't be for any other reason, quite honestly, than the impact of this. All right, so Kimmy's saying that her grandsons and other kids where they live, none of them don't want to go back. None of them want to go back to school. And they're just deciding they don't want to. Interesting, right? And Kimmy's saying, I told my daughter to get the school and the courts involved to make them go to school. Yes, I believe it's mandatory for children to go to school. It's not an option. I'm pretty sure, even in the States, right, that you have to go to school. If you're within a certain age group, you have to go to school. It's not if you feel like going to school, you have to. Yes, Chris, very clever. Chris is saying he's most fortunate. His condo and car are already paid off. You know something? It was one of the reasons I made the decision I did, Chris, back over a year ago, to sell my house, because I wanted to make sure that I had enough money to totally buy my living area, if you know what I mean, so that I wasn't getting caught with that mortgage payment every month. So Beth is saying that her rent went up $25. Another good point. Expect your rents to go up. Why? Everything's costing more. But I believe that you also need to be aware, and I'm not 100% sure whether it's true in the States, but I'm pretty sure it probably is. In Canada, there is a limit to how much they can put the price of the rent up, regardless of the costs. And can somebody let me know, is that the same thing? I think here in Canada they can't put it up more than about 3 or 5% a year. They can put it up 3 or 5% every year, but they can't put it up more than that in any given year. I think it's 3. So make sure you know what is there. And then if somebody's trying to put the rent up more than that, you now know that something's going on and you need to investigate it a bit more. So, yes, Kimmy, I'm inclined to agree with you on that. Kimmy's saying, and the pandemic is an excuse to price gouge. I think that what you will see coming in pretty soon is some sort of more stringent laws that say you're not allowed to do that. So I think, I think it's really something, though, that you need to be aware of. These things are going to happen. And I'm delighted, Jeannie, that you're proud of America and not ashamed of it. And that is wonderful. And I think, there are so many good reasons. I can remember somebody coming to Canada and saying, oh, I don't know how anybody lives here. And I'm going, well, that's okay. We love it here. So I agree with you. It's wonderful to be proud of your country. All right. So Jody's saying there is no limit in the States on the amount of the increase, but it cannot be raised at a whim. Okay. So you have to be able to justify the increase. Is that right, Jody? Am I understanding you correctly? I'm amazed that you don't have a maximum. So that means that my landlord can say, if they wanted to, we're just going to up it by another $200 a month. Interesting. All right. By the way, I got talking about the stress of scams. I've been reporting on the telephone numbers that I, do not answer if you get a single ring and stop. Do not answer, do not phone that number back again because it's a scam. Now, I got a new one this week that I thought I'd let you know about because I didn't know this. Country code 94. So if you see that the telephone number starts with 94, it's coming from Sierra Leone. Well, actually, no, from Sri Lanka. That used to be called, sorry, when I say Sierra Leone, I'm thinking of Ceylon. So it's coming from Sri Lanka, which in my day, way back when, was called Ceylon. And that's where you get Ceylon tea from, obviously. So that's the first one I've got from there. And I thought, because I like to use these moments to keep us all educated, you're all probably aware that it's the little island that hangs off the bottom of India, the same way as Tasmania hangs off the bottom of Australia. That's that those little islands that literally, uh, disconnect from the mainland, if you like. So, but Sri Lanka is a fairly large island. I thought you'd like to know that it's known for its processing of rubber, tea, coconuts, tobacco, and other agricultural commodities. And so to me, it is somewhere I've never been. I don't know, has anybody ever been there or know anybody who lives there? I personally have never been there, and I've been to a lot of countries, but for some reason I never did go to India or Ceylon or Sri Lanka. So interesting. All right. So Chris is saying he's managed to get his living expenses down to under 600 a month plus food. How much do you spend on food a month? Okay, interesting. Jody is saying in terms of rent, She's saying that it needs to be 30 days written notice unless it's a manufactured housing park, in which case 60 days written notice. And that would be because those people are normally retired, maybe. I don't know. So, just ballpark figures, people. How much a month do you spend on groceries? And Jeannie's saying that because her political views are different from the current administration, she now says that if she disagrees with anybody, she gets called names. And it used to be that people could state their viewpoint and not be maligned for it. I hope that you do not feel that you've been maligned for it here. All right. So Jody's saying that she spends between $375 and $400, and that's for two of you, right? That's amazing. Chris is saying about 500, and Kimmy's saying about 400 now. So my question would be, if you knew that prices were going to go up more, what would you do to reduce? Because food is always something that you don't want to, but you probably could save money on. As you know, part of my plan is I'm growing a lot more of my own. So the things that I normally spend a lot of money on, I spend, I was spending $10 a week just on lettuce, and that's why I'm growing my own now. So I'm in the process of learning how to do that. All right. So it might take me a couple of years to get this perfected, but I'm pretty good now on lettuces. I'm done a pretty good job on that. I still buy the occasional one, but so far I am almost self-sufficient on lettuce. So it's a good point that Jody, of course, because of what she is doing, she's going to be not halving, but she's going to be reducing her grocery bill by quite a bit, just because her stomach will be that much smaller. All right, and also that the type of food she can eat will be very different. So that's an interesting point. You hadn't planned it that way, but you probably will be spending less. And so, yes, as Kimmy said, Kimmy lives in a rural area, and she said things are always more expensive at their grocery store. Well, that is one of the things I've always said to people, which is there's a reason why a convenience store is always more expensive than your local supermarket. Now, I know that Kimmy doesn't have necessarily, I had a look at her local supermarket, but she doesn't have the advantages of a lot of choice where she lives. And so it may be, Kimmy, that you need to do more buying of stuff online and have it shipped to you. And maybe save money that way. So I look at it and go, it's the price of stuff, as I've been warning you, the price of stuff is going to continue to go way up, and it won't be regardless of who's in the administration. All right, and I need to make sure you understand that, regardless of who is in the administration. I know everybody's going to blame the other person, and that I understand, but regardless, it's going to happen. Kimmy's saying that Amazon is expensive and Walmart doesn't ship. All right, but you may need to get creative now, Kimmy. You may need to find somebody that lives near a Walmart that can shop for you, and maybe you go and shop with them. Maybe you need to go there once a month and do a shop. That may be the cheaper way to go, even though it will cost you in gas. It may be the cheaper way to go. All right, Jeannie, all the best, honey. Thank you for being here. And did you answer the question about your operation? Yeah, and Jody's saying the pandemic has far-reaching and long-lasting impact. Yes, we will be feeling this for decades, not months, decades. And so, just be aware, and we'll do what we can to bring you cost-saving ways to make life easier. It's interesting that Kim is saying that she thinks Amazon is price gouging. Interesting. On what particular? What is it that they are charging more for, Kim, from your experience? In other words, can you give us an example that I'm able to buy X at my local store for this much, but Amazon is charging Y? The reason I'm asking that is because I just want to make sure it's not something that has gone up everywhere. I personally find that, considering that they ship, well, if you've got Amazon Prime, that they ship for free, I still think it's one heck of a deal for me, personally. So how are other people finding it? People living not where Kim is. Are you finding that Amazon is price gouging in any way? Right. Jody's saying that. Jody, so that we got her positioned, is in New Hampshire. She's saying that she has found that the Amazon prices to be very reasonable for most items that she's been shopping for, very much in line with the other stores. And Chris is saying Amazon has a lot of sellers selling the same thing for different prices. Yeah, I find that as well. And be very careful when, the third party people. So be very careful how you buy. And what I do like about Amazon, it does give you a little thing that you can click on that says you only want items that are on Prime. And so you there cut out those third-party sellers that not only are charging a lot more, but also charging way more for shipping. You saw paper towels from $30 to $100. Okay, I tell you what, Kimmy, could you cut and paste me some pictures so that we can sort of find out what those similar things are being, what Jody is being asked to pay for it in New Hampshire. I can let you know what we're paying for it in Canada, just so you can see, because I've just found paper towels at a really good price on Amazon. So that's why I'm confused. I think I bought Brawny or something, and they were, I thought, a really good price for what they are. All right, so let's do that. I think it will help a lot of people see, and I did this once before, where, what is this product costing if you're ordering it from Maine? What is this product costing if you're ordering it from New Hampshire? What is it costing if Kim's ordering it from wherever? All right. The other thing is this, Kim, if paper towels are that expensive, go and buy a dozen face cloths and stop using paper towels. I do buy paper towels because I mop up certain things with paper towels. But I want to tell you, for the last 20 years or more, I predominantly use face cloths rather than paper towels. All right, you use Honey. Is that an app, Chris? All right, so that's good to know. Kimmy might look into the store called Honey, or the app called Honey. Yes, Jody, that's what I thought. All right, so there you go, Kimmy. On Amazon, Brawny, 32 rolls for $23. And those are the selector size ones as well, Jody, if I'm correct. I know it was a really good deal, enough that I bought 32 rolls. And I'm going, boy, I'd be mad not to buy that. So maybe we can pass that link on to Kimmy so that she knows it's there. Sometimes you just need to change the brand. But Kim, thank you for mentioning it. Yes, it's Terra Square. In other words, they have a big square and you can either use a quarter of it or half of it or 3/4 of it. Yep. So thank you, Jody, for looking that up. I didn't expect you to do that. You exceeded my expectations yet again. Another quick tip about spring cleaning, which is please remember to spring clean your inbox. Who is it that is constantly sending you stuff in your inbox that quite honestly you signed up for something and they've ended up sending you something regularly in your inbox and you're going, I really don't want this. Unsubscribe. I try every Monday to unsubscribe a couple. All right, I try to unsubscribe a couple. I've got to tell you quite honestly, Kim, I pay about $100 a year for the right to use Amazon Prime, and I know that I have saved money. In other words, that with everything that I can buy on Prime at a good price and know that the shipping is paid for within that $100, I don't have to pay extra. Just be careful that the products you buy are Prime products if you buy Prime. I don't think I have ever felt that I was price gouged for $100 a year for that service. I know that I pay, there isn't anything that wouldn't cost me at least, what gets shipped today for less than $12.99 a month? Seriously, nothing. All right, half the time your shipping costs are way beyond that. But again, expect that Prime to go up as well, because every time transport costs go up, so will Amazon prices need to go up as well. So expect that to happen. You remember you heard it here. All right, now every Sunday I try and give you another tip as well as to which area of your house you may try and declutter this week. How about tell me about your fridge, the front of your fridge. What do you have on the front of your fridge? Does it look cluttered or does it look clean? Okay? Does it look cluttered or does it look clean? Now mine, I've got 50 keto snacks that you can make, which by the way, I've noticed that the few people that have been in my house in the last year, every time they see that list, they take a picture of it. I found that interesting. I have a Christmas card that the girls made me that is a bit tatty now, but it's staying. And I have, Beth, I still have some protein box type ideas there as well. All right, so Jody's saying she only has 2 things in the front of hers. All right, so the question is, if you got paid a lot of money to clean up the front of your fridge, what would you do? Right? How would you make it more clean? I'm thinking I could take the children's Christmas card and frame it, because obviously I don't want to get rid of it. And maybe I put it in a frame and hang it somewhere. That would get that off the fridge. And I could put the keto stuff, although I don't eat a lot of keto things, but I noticed that I'm beginning to add it in a bit more. By the way, that You remember that experiment I did on Friday with those little cupcakes made with dates, and I did prunes with mine. I want to tell you that they really, I'm surprised that they do a good job. And what I did is I had a lot of that, what do you call it, the shell of it left over. And what I decided to do was to cook it even more so that it was well cooked and almost chunky. And I'm going to use it to sprinkle on top of my yogurt, because we know it had good stuff in it, right? That case that it was in, what do you call it? Shell. The shell that it was in had oats and coconut oil and anyway, whatever it was that we put in there, it was all good stuff, healthy stuff. So I thought, gosh, why don't I use that and turn it into a crumble that I can just put over some yogurt and add a bit more goodness to my yogurt. So I want to thank you for letting me do those experiments, because normally I would never have cooked that. But it came off an idea that I had on my fridge. So there we go. Now, for those of you who are into cleaning, we know that we have, almost everybody has their own recipe for this, but for those of you who might not have one, this is a recipe for a bath shower cleaner, a shower cleaner, all right? All you need is 2 cups of warm water, half a cup of baking soda, half a cup of distilled vinegar, and stir that up. Add half a cup of Blue Dawn soap and stir that for about 2 minutes. Then dilute with water and put into a spray bottle. And you will be amazed what that will clean. And that will remove old stains in your shower and all sorts of things. Very simple, cheap things to make. And that's another area of your grocery list that you might want to look at and say, if you think about it, anytime you buy one of these cleaners, it's costing you anywhere from, I would think, $6 to $10. Would that be fair in the States? I'm thinking what happens, it's the same thing. If you remember, I was saying to you, remember I got that Dawn Power scrub thing, whatever, power foaming thing. What I found was I could refill it using Dawn, baking soda, and some water. And it is the actual mechanism that makes the foam. So now that I've got 2 of those bottles, I can keep making the foam myself. Right? I mean, I can make the ingredients myself and I still get the foaming action from it, because it is the mechanism, that bottle, that creates that foam, not the ingredients. All right, so Chris is saying, I buy my cleaners at the dollar store. I haven't bought Windex in years. I've made my own Windex for 30 years. But funny enough, when I was renting the apartment, they gave me a bottle of Windex, and I'm still using it up. And and you go, okay, fine. And if some of you are saying, well, I don't like the smell of vinegar. The trick is, if you're going to make a Kleenex type product with vinegar, 2 things. Number 1, a couple of drops of blue food coloring makes it look like Windex. And the second thing is, invest in a little bottle of rose essence or lemon essence, even get artificial lemon, and just drop it in, a couple of drops in your bottle, and it'll smell beautifully. Also consider making your own cleaners from orange peels and lemon peels. Some of the best cleaners are from citrus fruit. And there's so many great recipes for that on the internet today. Yes. Judy's saying that she's paying for the Dawn foam about $5 there. It's way more here. It's about 6 or 7. I would think $7 to $8 here for that here in Canada. But now I don't have to worry. All I do, and this is what I do, Jody, is whenever I see Dawn on sale, I will buy a couple of bottles because I know, it's always going to be worthwhile. Because it's such a good product. And if it's on sale, I will buy 2 bottles on principle. I'm still thinking about Kimmy with her problem. My feeling is that Kimmy, it may be worth your while to travel to a bigger area once a month and do a once a month shop. Just to get the advantage of the cheaper prices in a Walmart or something like that. The question is, would you spend more money than that on the gas? That's the only thing I don't know. But, in other words, I always laugh at people here in Canada who will tell me that they saved 50 cents on buying eggs in the States. And I say, how long did you sit in the lineup for the States? An hour. Okay, how much gas did you use sitting there? And how much, and how much wear and tear on your car. But if the prices get really tough, Kimmy, this is something you may need to do, all right? Or your expectation of what you can eat is going to change. And that is, that's what we find when people go into even more tough times, the way that they eat changes. And so, I basically am already training myself to eat less meat. I am training myself to literally, when I cook something and I want to have pasta, I no longer just huck the pasta in. I now put in 1/4 cup of dry. If I want to make rice, I put in 1/4 cup of rice and only cook 1/4 cup of rice per person. As opposed to before, I would put in a couple of cups and waste a whole lot. And so I find only cooking for today's meal actually makes me use less. Just a thought. And again, if you don't know how to bake bread, learn, because that saves you a lot of money. What else? If you, do know how to make your own pasta. Pasta's really easy to make if you choose to do it. And you don't need a fancy machine. You can do it with a rolling pin. And so there are a lot of things that if you had to, we can reduce the cost on. And we may have to, is my point. Not that we want to, we may have to. And that's not just Kim, it's like everybody. I'm pleased to report that I didn't have anything to say about having a feeling of stupidity this week, which is an improvement. I don't have anything under that category, as I normally do. Oh, interesting. Jody's saying she just bought 10 pounds of split chicken breasts, bone in, at 99 cents a pound versus the boneless at $2 a pound. Yes. And so the price that you're paying is the time it takes to debone it. That's another great way of saving. You remember I said to you, if you buy a whole chicken, even a barbecued one at the local store, you normally can pick up a barbecued one for $5 to, I don't know what it is in the States, but here in Canada, we can pick up a pre-cooked barbecue one for sort of way under $10. And, if you try to buy all those individual cuts, it would cost you far more. And it's already cooked, especially in the summer. That's really, and I would definitely, if you use that meat, and you can say, oh, I don't really like dark meat. Well, hello, that's when you turn the dark meat into chicken and apple patties and have that as a protein snack. Or, you get more creative. I'm not a great lover of dark meat on poultry either, but I can use it, and I do use it. And I I mince mine up and make chicken pie as opposed to shepherd's pie. You know, I make minced chicken with vegetables and things, and then, you know, either put a crust over it or put some mashed potato over it. Under lost and found, has anybody lost anything or found anything this week? I am delighted to tell you that after all this time, I have found the red box cutter. Now, I have lost that for probably a month now, right? And you know, I knew that if I watched what I was doing, I would find it. And when I say if I watched what I was doing, I was pretty sure that I had used the box cutter in one of the two rooms where I cut boxes up, and I put it down, but not in the place where I normally do. I have a little Tupperware container, or plastic container, that I put, you know, after I've cut, I put it in that container. And I knew that in one of those two rooms, and I have the same system in both rooms, I knew that I must have put that red box cutter somewhere where it shouldn't have gone. And I said, you know, I'm going to find it when I accidentally do it again. I wonder if that makes sense to anybody. Anyway, I was breaking down boxes this week, and I put the red and the box cutter I was using, I put it away. And when I put it away, I thought, why did I go lower than normal? I normally put it on the shelf above that in the plastic. And I went, let me look in that box. And I looked in the box, and guess what? There was the red box cutter. And I went, thank you. If I hadn't made the mistake, I wouldn't have found it. All right, so Chris is saying he found $5 while he was walking the dog yesterday. Yay, that's a great incentive. Now, for those of you, hang on a second, let me see where I am. Oh, did I tell you I found the original cordless drill as well? I'm not sure if I told you that, but you remember I couldn't find mine, and then I had to go and buy another one because I needed it. I still haven't found my mom's pearls, and I still haven't found my silver and turquoise jewelry that I got for my 50th birthday. And I may never find those, but I'll keep unpacking in case it's somewhere strange. But I'm pretty happy with what I found so far. And I know that some of the others may or may not come to light. I think about it this way. If I never saw my mother's pearls again, could I live my life happily? Yeah. I'd be sad to lose them, but yeah, it's not going to change my life a great deal. If I didn't find the beautiful silver and turquoise set that was given to me for my 50th birthday, is it going to make a major change to my life? Not really. It is stuff. You know what I mean? It is stuff. So no. I also wanted to report to you that I think, you know, I had this goal of getting back to doing at least 6,000 to 8,000 steps a day. Well, I shocked myself a little bit. Last week, I did 71,685 steps. That's up until last night for the week. That's over 10,000 a day. Now, as some of you know, I'm trying to do a 5 kilometer or 3.1 mile race walking by the end of the month. And that's what I'm trying to get fit enough to do. And I'm a bit scared, talking about stress. It's a little stressful because it's pushing myself a little bit more than in other words, that distance is a little bit longer than I thought it was. I thought it was about 2/3 of the actual distance that it is. So, but this week I did take one more step in the right direction. In fact, a couple of them. Number one, I did 4 laps of the community nonstop. And that ended up being 2.67 miles of the 3.1 I need to be able to do, or 4.2 kilometers of the 5 kilometers that I need to do. And I gave myself permission to take time, because around the community, neighbors stop and say hello and how's the renovation going? And, they care, and I don't want to be rude to people. And I gave myself permission to take my time if necessary. I also stopped at the garage sale and bought some things, and then walked the stuff back to my house, and then walked back to pick up some more of those drawer units and walk that back to my house. I did 3 trips like that within that time frame. So I was pretty pleased that I managed to do all of that. And now I know I can walk for over an hour. I think it took me an hour and 10 minutes to do that walk and do all the other bits that I did. So I was pretty pleased with it. The question is, will I be able to do 5K and qualify? It may not be possible. In other words, I need to be able to do the 3.1 miles within, I think it's an hour. So what I decided to do, I read up a little bit about training. Some people do that beforehand. But one thing I learned from my research this week is they recommend you only do the distance thing sort of once or twice a week. And that the other days you do shorter walks, but faster. So today I went out, before the broadcast, I went out and did the equivalent of about half the distance, but I went at a faster pace. And I was quite surprised. I knocked about 3 minutes off my time, which means that I am getting stronger. So, and I am not over thinking this in terms of my expectation. In other words, if I manage to do 5K but don't qualify the time, can you understand that would still be a win for me? How many of you can see that? To be able to go from only being able to do 10 minutes a day to being able to walk for an hour nonstop within a couple of months, that is a pretty big win. And so I've already bought the singlet that you get to wear, and I'm still going to get my badge number or whatever that I will be able to show you if I can get my printer working, because it's now all done digitally. And if necessary, I'll take a picture of it and show you. But, it's like, quite honestly, and I've talked to Benji about this as well, and he said the same thing. He said, Sal, don't go for the win. Don't worry about if you don't qualify. What you have already done is, amazing, considering, that you were in lockdown and all the other things, and you've done a really good job. Now, I also need to be quite honest with you, because that's what I always said I would do. Do I look forward to going for these walks? Not really. I mean, I'd love to lie to you and tell you I get up in the morning and think, oh, golly gee, let me go walking. No, I get up and think, I really ought to walk. And so what I do is try and make sure that I walk either early on in the day or in the late afternoon after the sun's gone down a bit. And I remind myself, if you think about this, I was spending 45 minutes to an hour a day walking with the Wii machine, WII, the Wii. I was doing that for 45 minutes to an hour a day. Now I get to choose. I can still do that if it's raining, but I get to choose to go out now and do it in fresh air. The other thing is, my little community that I live in is on a slope. And what I've decided, I might stop doing the laps around the community, because I go downhill, along, uphill, along, downhill. And then, so I thought, wait a minute. On this level here, it is flat. And there's a road that's about half a kilometer. So, or half a mile, rather. So if I can do that road 3 times, all the way down there, turn around, come back, I can do that 3 times. I think that is the distance. You know, I'll be doing that experiment this week. And it's pretty flat. It's, you know, there's not too much of an incline on it, which means that I'll be able to go faster and maybe do it within the time, which is what I'm looking for. What is the easiest way for me to do this? I don't have to, you know, I don't have to prove anything to myself more than, can I do this? And there we have it. Actually, what struck me about this week was it was less stressful, touch wood, less stressful overall this week. The house is beginning to look tidier. I'm definitely beginning to see inroads. I'm not unpacking boxes the way that I was, because I've really took a couple of weeks and said, I want to take another couple of weeks now and put as much as I can away before I unpack the last boxes. Does that make sense to everybody? I've got about 20 boxes left, but I want to make sure, and the reason I say that is because a lot of stuff in the craft room that is in the craft room, I found out that a lot of the cubies are empty. They put them back empty. So a lot of the crud that is in the craft room can now go into those cubies. And at the end of the month, I think I ordered 8 or 12 more gray cubies to fit in with those. And that will give me that much more storage as well. And now I've got those plastic drawers where I can put all the extra paints and everything else in. So I'm pretty sure that by the end of June, I might be able to be done. Wouldn't that be wonderful? Of course, Jeannie, you will be unpacking for the rest of the year, I'm sure, but you might be very quick at unpacking. So, you know, I wish you great joy in this. And I am really glad, I've said this before and I'm going to say it again, I'm really glad I made the decision after that initial unpacking that I don't want to spend all day unpacking. I will unpack a couple of boxes a day and then I want to live my life. And I am glad I did that, because what I've noticed is I've got a lot of it unpacked anyway. All right. It's just like I didn't need to pressure myself that much. It was just a case of I am beginning to find a home for everything. I've got a lot of stuff in my dining room that needs to find a home soon. But, you know, in the meantime, it's fine. No problem. So everybody, stress is what we make of it. Oh, and Jody's saying that there are 2 people unpacking, Jeannie and York. Yes, I have a feeling, though, that Jeannie will probably do the bulk of it. That's my sense from what I hear. But again, if Jeannie has her operation, maybe not. Maybe York will need to be doing a lot more than he probably would like to. But I'm certain they'll make a plan. All right, everybody. So remember, the stress that we make for ourselves is the stress that we need to control. Think about the stress that you create, not other people create. The external stress that comes at you, that is about how do you control yourself and your anger management and your frustration and everything. How well can you say it is what it is, I need to deal with it and get it done? Or I keep looking at the stress I cause myself and saying, how can I control that better? And this, what I'm talking about, my expectations of myself. I'm going, wait a minute. By the time I've edited stuff and done the walk, you know, it's my day gone. And then I had a goal this week that came up on my system And the goal was to actually put some stuff on TikTok. Now, like I haven't got enough going on. And that required that I find out, number one, I needed to join TikTok. So that was the first step. Then I had to find out, how do you upload stuff to TikTok? Okay. Then I tried to upload something to TikTok and found out I could only have a minute. And I'm going, now there's a challenge. What am I going to cut out to leave a minute? And so it's been an interesting week, but on the good side, I am amazed that I only put 2, and I literally just put 2 bits of video up on 2 consecutive days. And I'm amazed how many views they've had already. Not something I expected at all. And I have no idea how people found them, which is, part of the learning now. How do people find me there? Because I haven't been putting in hashtags and I haven't been doing any of the right things. I just got video up because that's the step. Now I will start perfecting that step. So am I proud of that? Yes. Do I feel good about it? Yes. And I still walked as well. You know what I mean? It's just like, okay, I'm beginning to get my brain working again, where I can juggle more than 2 balls at the same time. And that feels good. I love you dearly. All right, everybody. So have a great week if you can. Make it a great week if you are able. And most of all, remember, the stress we cause ourselves is probably 90% of the stress you cope with every day. Limit that. If people stress you out, keep distance from those people. If things stress you out, think about either not doing those things or getting it done as quickly as you can. This is DearMamaSal saying coping with stress is a major part of everybody's life, and it's up to us to control it. Bye-bye for now. Have a wonderful week.